Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Thank you for taking the time to attend our meeting tonight. I understand that some of you might be busy with Hari Raya, but after all of you still attend the meeting. Thank you so much for that. So our meeting today are our opportunity to share and discuss on our latest report regarding to the case study for Berjaya Maju Enterprise. So we'll need to analyze, monitor as well as evaluate on the internal control of the company for the report of Berjaya Maju Enterprise. So this progress will lead us into our next phase, which to present the report to our audit manager. We have a lot to cover. So we will get started without further ado with the introduction by Siti Nur Sakina. So you may start.
Okay, for introduction of ICS, ICS means Internal Control System. An internal control system analyzes an organization policies, processes, and functions to ensure the business operates as intended. It involves action by the board and management to manage risk and improve the likelihood of achieving goals, providing reasonable assurance that objectives can be met. In ICS, there are five components. One, control environment. Control environment sets the foundation for internal control activities. It includes standards, processes, structures, and the organization culture. Next, risk assessment. Risk assessment involves identifying and mitigating potential issues that could hinder organization objectives. This can originate from both internal and external sources. Third, control activities. Control activities are policies and procedures implemented to follow the risk mitigation plan. Examples include authorization processes, verification procedures, and segregation of duties within departments. Next, information and communication. Effective two-way communication between senior management and employees is essential. It allows for the transmission of key values and messages from management to employees. And lastly, monitoring. Ongoing evaluation identifies weaknesses and assesses the performance of the internal control system. Continuous monitoring helps improve business processes and adapt to changes, whether in physical or digital realms. Next, we will go to introduction of CIS. Computer information system manage communication between hardware and software on data storage and management devices such as database, cloud storage, and servers. The system architecture depends on the collected data and its intended use. It comprises interconnected people, processes, software, hardware, and networks. This system applies technology to meet business needs and allow technical skill to be used in a business context. Now we will go to the next slide. So we will see the effect of CIS on ICS. There are five. First, automated processor and independent checks. CIS introduced automation, which allow for computerized reconciliation and validation checks. This automated processor ensures accurate transaction processing without manual intervention. Net enhancing physical control. Although CIS primarily deals with digital access and records, it indirectly enhances physical control. Digital audit trace and access logs monitor individuals accessing physical assets stored digitally. Net segregation of duties. CIS enforces segregation of duty by restricting access based on specific roles and responsibilities. For example, software permission prevent a single person from initiating and approving transactions. Next, data security measures. Features like data backup, encryption, and access control prevent unauthorized data changes or loss. This ensures data integrity and availability. And lastly, accurate records and compliance. CIS facilitates the creation and maintenance of digital documents with timestamp and audit trace. These records are essential for compliance and auditing purposes. Now we will see the flowchart of Berjaya Maju. So from this scenario, we will see from this diagram, we will see more easier to understand the scenario that happened in the company. From customer to salesperson to yard workers and to the bookkeepers. So you can see for first customer, mm, um, this is the flowchart of company that will make it easiest for outsider to understand more what happened in the company. That's all for me. I will pass to the next person.
Alright, sorry. Hi, Assalamualaikum. I'm Nurunasa binti Adam, and thank you, Sakina, for the wonderful introduction just now. I'll be explaining about the control objectives, control activities, and test of controls in Berjaya Maju Enterprise. So there are three main control objectives, which are accurate sales orders records and smooth processing, proper management of cash, and handling of financial records, and lastly, accurate records of accounts and collect account receivables. Alright, so now we are going to talk about the control activities in each control objectives. Alright, next. The first control objective being accurate sales orders and smooth processing. So there are two control activities which are documentation of sales order and segregation of duties. So sales order are documented by preparing two copies, one for the yard and one for the office. And as for segregation of duties, we can see in the roles that are played by Rosman as salesperson, Zaki and Bob as the yard workers, and Ida as the bookkeeper. Alright, the next slide. The next objective, which is proper management of cash and handling of financial records. Okay. For the payment before collection, as you can see, Berjaya Maju Enterprise has a policy where cash customers have to pay first prior to collecting the goods. And for daily deposit into bank and monthly bank reconciliation, Ida, the bookkeeper, deposits into the into the bank daily, and prepares a bank reconciliation statement at the end of each month. All right, for the last control objectives, the activities that are done in accurate records of accounts and collect account receivables are remittance of customers. So for remittance of customers, it is done by comparing payments with sales order. And if the payment is done, the sales order is closed and removed from the records. And for notifying credit customers, it is done by mailing the credit customers their credit balance at the end of each month. Alright, so now that we know all the control activities in each of the control objectives, we are going to find out what are the types of controls that can be done. For the first objective, accurate sales orders and smooth processing. The slide before that. Okay. 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 So there are two tests of controls because there are two control activities, which are select sample of sales orders, which is done by comparing copies that are stored and making sure that they are processed correctly. And for the segregation of duties, the duties are observed and ensuring that in the individuals are carrying out the duties properly. All right, for the next control objectives, the control activities that are done in proper management of cash and handling of financial records. The two types of controls that can be done is selecting a sample of cash sales transaction and examine deposit slips and bank records. So selecting sample of cash sales transaction, it is also the same process by comparing it with the records that are in the system. And for the deposit slips and bank records, it is reviewed whether it is verified or not. All right, for the last objective, which is accurate records of accounts and collect accounts receivable. This is done by testing whether reviewing closed sales orders, whether it is correct or not with the payments that are actually done. So if the sales orders are properly removed, then it is deemed as correct. As for the mail of credit balance, this is done by analyzing the balance and seeing whether it is actually the same and comparing it with the accounts in the system. So that are all the control objectives, control activities, and the test of controls.
For weaknesses, as we discussed, we identify certain deficiencies in internal control that we consider the following deficiencies in Berjaya Maju Enterprise internal control to be material weaknesses. First of all is limitation to segregation of duties. Based on there are inherent limitations to segregation of duties among Berjaya Maju Enterprise personnel. Presently, Ida, the bookkeeper, performs multiple critical tasks, including preparing monthly statement, handling customer remittance, depositing collections, and preparing bank reconciliation statement. But this can be avoided by the IDA should not handle both the recording of sales and the reconciliation of bank statement, and another employee should be responsible for either the bank deposit or the reconciliation. Next, inadequate documentation and tracking of sales order. Sales order are manually prepared in 2 copies, with 1 copy kept in the office and the other taken to the yard. And the second copy given the customer is the only record for the yard workers. There is no systematic way to track sales order from initiation to completion. The reliance on manual copies increases the risk of loss, duplication, or unauthorized alteration of sales order. And implementing an electronic sales order system could help track all orders efficiently. And last but not least, cash handling and security issues. Cash customer must make payment at the office before collecting their items, but there is no mention of a secure process for handling and safeguarding cash. Additionally, credit customers collect their items directly from the yard, and the physical transfer of cash from the office to the bank relies on IDA. There is a high risk of cash being lost or stolen due to insufficient security measures and inadequate documentation of cash transaction. Next, we will move to the implication. Due to the material weakness occur in Berjaya Maju Enterprise internal control, there will be several possible implication outcomes. First of all is increased risk of fraud. This due to the lack of segregation of duties, especially with IDA handling multiple critical financial tasks, creates an environment where fraudulent activities can occur undetected. IDA could potentially misappropriate funds without immediate detection. For example, IDA has the opportunity to misappropriate funds and conceal the theft by manipulating records since she controls both the recording and reconciliation process. This could lead to significant financial losses for the company and potentially severe legal consequences if fraud is discovered. Next, inaccurate financial reporting. This is due to the manual process of preparing and tracking sales order coupled with the manual bank reconciliation. It will increase the likelihood of errors in financial records. Error in recording sales, customer remittance, and bank deposit can lead to the inaccurate financial statements. Discrepancies between recorded sales and actual collections can distort the company's financial position. Last but not least, operational inefficiencies. This is due to the current process are labor-intensive and prone to human error, especially with manual preparation and handling of documents and cash. Employees spend significant time on tasks that could be automated, such as preparing sales order, handling cash transaction, and performing bank reconciliation. This reduces overall productivity and increase operational costs. Inefficient can lead to higher operational costs and reduced competitiveness. I will pass to the Nur Ashikin.
Thank you so much for Gina for the explanation. So moving on to the recommendation. So before this, we have gone through the weaknesses and implication of the case study. So here are a few recommendations that we can do to Berjaya Maju Enterprise. So first thing first, it is important for Berjaya Maju Berhad to implement segregation of duties among employee. Why? Because segregation of duties ensure that no single person has control over all parts of a transactions or operation. So as we know, Ida is the bookkeeper who is responsible for recording and maintaining business financial transactions such as purchases, expenses or sales revenue. However, on the case study, she also responsible on preparing the bank reconciliation, preparing the monthly statement and many more. So it shows that it's not efficient since she is responsible in many tasks. Therefore, segregation of duties is important among the employee to reduce the opportunity to conceal errors and fraudulent activities. Other than that, Berjaya Maju Enterprise also can implement electronic sales order by eliminate manual paperwork. It can reduce the processing time as well as increase customer satisfaction. Electronic sales order also enforce data validation rules and minimize errors. It can also provide visibility into their order status by tracking information of the order, improving transparency and satisfaction of customers. Last but not least, we can improve Berjaya Maju Berhad by implementing a more secure cash handling process. Based on the case study above, it shows that credit customer may collect ordered items directly from the yard. Whether the sale is made by cash or credit, the second copy of the sales order form is given to the customer. So, we can improve the company by making sure that the employee generates receipts from customers to reduce the risk of disputes. Besides that, the company may implement a physical security such as cameras, alarm systems, or even restricted access to cash handling. For example, only a few employees can have access through cash handling process. Therefore, this way, it can establish a more clear and documented procedures and avoid fraud and theft. So as for conclusion, there are many importance of internal control such as enhanced liability and integrity of the company. In this case study, internal control helps to enhance efficiency by reducing human error through implementation of electronic preparation of sales order. Other than that, internal control helps increase customer satisfaction by establishing a clear and documented procedures for cash handling by providing a proper receipts or track transactions. Lastly, internal control helps to ensure that no single person has control over all parts. I think that's all for today, and thank you so much for your attendance for tonight. That's all. Thank you.